So we're going to get started with the second module of our first aid class. I'm Ellen Edmondson. I'm a nurse practitioner and a nurse midwife, and I'm doing a series of instructions on first aid. In preparation for doing these classes, I took a number of first aid classes given by people in the prepper communities. Next slide. The next thing I want to talk about is hand washing, because it is the #1 defense against the spread of infection. And in third world countries, when hand washing facilities are available, the incidence of diarrheal illness is reduced by 40% and respiratory illness by 23%. That's pretty significant. And there, you can see in that little picture up in the corner, the guy there is coming out of the latrine and he's using something called a tippy tap. And I'm going to show you a little film about that. Soap and water really make a difference. Just plain water is better than nothing, and some places recommend that you use wood ashes to clean your hands if you don't have soap, but by stockpile soap. We take this stuff for granted. It's so cheap and so available, and we don't think about how really truly difficult it is to make soap. If you're going to stockpile soap, and I highly recommend that you do stockpile a lot of it. Bugs love it because it's made with an oil or a fat, so roaches will eat this, and it will degrade if it's humid and hot. So vacuum seal it, protect it from moisture, and protect it from heat.
What's the brand?
Any brand. This is just Kurt's Castile. I like it because it's natural, but any soap is fine, you know.
Well, there's a big comment. Nowadays you have antimicrobial soaps, which has triclosan in it. Triclosan is a derivative from Agent Orange. So really go out your way to avoid antibacterial, antimicrobial soap, because soap is antimicrobial by its nature.
Right.
So you don't need to add this toxic material in it.
Winston's comment is that if you buy a microbial soap like Dial, like Lever 2000, they have a chemical called triclosan in them, and that is a derivative of Agent Orange. So don't use that. You can just buy something like Dove or Olay or this. I love Kirk's Original Castile because it's just a very natural soap.
Dr. Bronner is okay?
Yeah.
Dr. Bronner's is excellent. Yeah, it's Castile soap too. Think about soap making as a cottage industry. I make soap. I love to make soap. It's lots of fun to do.
Yeah.
But even making your soap at home, you're going to have to stockpile lye, and you're going to have to stockpile a fat or an oil. Our pioneer ancestors had a huge problem making soap. They had to save all the wood ashes from their fire, and it has to be hardwood ashes in order to make lye. And they had to render fat and save every scrap of tallow from beef, from cows and sheep. It was a project to make soap. It was a precious commodity, and we just completely take it for granted. If you ever want to do a really interesting field trip, in northeastern Ohio, in Kirkland, Ohio, is one of the Mormon heritage sites. And I was fortunate to be able to go there this summer. The Mormons, wherever they went, they tried to be industrious so that they could provide a living wage for their members, and so that they could provide something that the community needed that would help cement their relationship, would safe point them with their community. And so in Kirkland, Ohio, there's a working sawmill, and right next to it is a working ashery. A-S-H-E-R-Y, an ashery. And the Mormons made sawed lumber, and they used scraps from that to make wood ashes, and they use those wood ashes to make soap.
Wow.
And if you ever want to see how really complicated it is to make soap, that ashery is mind-blowing, because you have to leach the lye from the ashes, then you have to boil it down to concentrate it, and then you have to mix it with the fat in order to make the soap. That stuff is precious. So don't take soap for granted. Stockpile some soap, and maybe consider learning to make it. as a cottage industry.
And what were the recommended soaps again that you said? The Castile?
Castile soap, Dove, Neutrogena, those kinds. But you know, any soap that is not an antimicrobial soap is just fine.
Thank you.
And now I would like to play this little video here, a little YouTube video. Great.
We'll start.
Will it start again?
You gotta just play.
Play.
There you
go. I love this because it's repurposing something. It's repurposing a plastic can. Now that's some bad soil.
Yeah.
Think about putting these things outside of a latrine, outside of a barn where you're taking care of animals, outside of a compost bin. This is the foot pedal, so you don't have to touch anything to wash your hands.
Those who trust us in your hands.
Isn't that a clever thing?
Yeah. Wow. Every day.
Wow.
So, tippytap.org. So think about, those are simple things that can be done in a situation where maybe you're in a campsite, or God forbid, we're ever in a refugee camp somewhere. You know, we think that could never happen here, but I'm sure the people in Syria thought that too.
Yeah.
You know, and these are things that can be done simply with recycled and repurposed material. Next slide. Now we're going to talk about some other cleanliness issues in a grid down situation, in an emergency situation, in a situation where maybe we're just out camping somewhere, or we're taking a week or two at our bug out location just to groove in how we're going to operate there. We're going to have to provide for things like keeping ourselves clean by showering, keeping our clothes clean by laundering, and keeping our dishes clean. And, you know, a hot shower is probably one of the best things ever. I would rather not have almost any other convenience than not have a hot shower. So start to think about, how are you going to provide for showering facilities? Now for little, you know, camping trips or something, you can get one of these little bags. They're little black bags. You fill them with water, you put them in the sun, and you can take a little bit of a hot bird bath or a shower with this. This is small time stuff. For bigger things, for bigger groups of people, you are going to want some kind of a way to heat water for a shower, and your best bet is to heat it with the sun. So you can do do-it-yourself solar showers. One that we use is the black tubing solar shower. It just uses black tubing, you put it in a circular configuration. We use it on top of our fish house to heat water for our fish, because fish can't live above 55 degrees, below 55. So on a night like the other night when we went down to 42, we just turned our solar hot water on, and boom, it came down into our fish tanks, and our tanks stayed at 62 degrees, even though the ambient air temperature was 42. So you can build these and put them up on top of a roof or a porch or something. They're cheap, and with just a little bit of ingenuity, you can build them. Group members that have some engineering and plumbing skills can very easily build a wonderful solar shower out of an old hot water tank. It's not really that hard to do. You just have to have some plumbing skills and some construction skills. Because usually you're going to be elevating these tanks so you can use the gravity to feed the hot water down. And those are, I've seen some beautiful ones that, people just went through the trash and scavenged a hot water heater, painted it black, stuck it up on top of a little shower that they made, plumbed it in, and it worked great. And it was just a wonderful hot shower. And then the most expensive solution is a batch hot water heater, solar hot water heater. Those we can have in Florida because we do not freeze. So we don't have to have the fancy things with antifreeze in them. We can just stick some copper tubing up there under glass and heat water up. And man, is that nice. I have a 45-gallon batch hot water heater on top of my house, and the water that comes out of that thing is so hot. It's like 180 degrees when it comes off the roof. And it goes down into my hot water tank, and then it's just plumbed into the rest of the house. But you could very easily have this and just, plumb the cold water in, plumb this thing in, and have all the hot water you could ever want. We're so lucky in Florida that we can do this. I mean, we have our issues with our climate, but man, we can have this kind of stuff and have hot showers.
What water goes into that?
Municipal water.
Oh, you're running water into it?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It just fills right up from the municipal water. But you could fill it from your well, our rainwater. Absolutely, you could do that. So when you're thinking about how am I going to make sure that I can at least have a little hot water bird bath if there's a hurricane and the grid is down, or if I'm on a camping trip, or if I'm at a bug out location and we don't have electricity, start thinking about and kind of network with your pod members to come up with some solutions for providing this. It's comforting. It's a comfort, but it's important too, because clean skin is healthy skin. Okay, I'll take my next one. Now I'm going to recommend another great book, and this is a free download. You can go buy the book if you want to. It's $25 if you buy it, but it's a free download. It's by Daniel Valles, and it's such a great little book. It shows you how to build a charcoal water filter, how to do particulate filtration. There's lots and lots of great information in here. And I've got a little handout that shows you his laundry. You've got this laundry set up, and you've got a dishwasher set up. It's one of the last pages in your handout.
Yeah.
Washing clothes is not fun. And there was a reason women hated doing laundry before they had washing machines, because it's really, really hard work. So when you're washing in a grid down situation or a crisis situation or a camping situation, you don't have to wash clothes like we do now. Underwear and socks gotta get washed every single day. They absolutely have to, because if those get dirty or sweaty, you're gonna have foot problems, and you're gonna have problems in the private areas that will make you miserable. Other clothes don't need to be washed as frequently, but you need to have something in mind for washing your clothes. Now this is just a simple setup, and you put this in the bottom, and that helps you to separate the dirt from the clothes. The dirt falls down so that it's not just recirculated around the clothes. And this is a little plunger, and you put your clothes in water and soap in here, and you just go.
How cute.
Yeah, and it works. You can really get your clothes clean doing that. And then of course you have to wring them out, and then you've got to put rinse water in here and rinse them. And then they get hung on a clothesline. So you can see why women dedicated a whole day of the week to doing laundry back in the day when we didn't have this stuff. And you can see why washing machines and dryers became such popular household items. Because it is a lot of work, but it's an essential thing that has to get done.
Where did you get the piece to put in the bottom again?
There's a little company
Okay.
here.
Where?
Yeah, this company makes this little setup, and they also built this clever little stand where you've got your wash tub and your rinse tub, and you've got a wringer
My
to
grandmother
wring
used
the
to
water.
have one.
Yeah.
My grandmother did too. And I'll take my next slide now. And the last slide here is on washing dishes. And you again have a handout on a dishwashing setup that he recommends. And it's very simple and straightforward. All you need to have is a couple of little plastic tubs and some, dishwashing post-disaster. You've got this page there. And the point of including that is just so you start thinking, okay, what materials can I assemble that are easy to acquire, inexpensive to acquire, but will allow me to make sure that I clean and sanitize my dishes when they're used. Because you obviously don't want dirty dishes, eating off dirty dishes. And if you have somebody who's ill, you want to make sure that you're washing those dishes and sanitizing. Any questions?
Comment.
Yes.
I didn't see anything of usage of dirt, sand, fine grit for washing dishes.
Yeah, I didn't include that. I suppose you could as a scouring thing to scour, especially scouring on cast iron.
Yes. Yeah, and then just regular dishes, actually, places that have really fine sand or silt.
Mhm.
That actually works both as a hand cleaner as well as dishwashing clean, so you can actually clean the dishes, remove all the grease, was just the dirt, and then you can just dip it in the water,
Mhm.
and now you have a perfectly clean dish.
I remember that.
The super fine silt is the key to it.
Yeah, and that's, do you need me to say that, David, for the purposes of the
Oh, let's try it, yeah.
Yeah, Winston's comment is that you could use a superfine sand or superfine silt to scour and wash your dishes and then just rinse that off in the rinse water. And you would achieve the same purpose of removing food particles and contamination that way. And I think that concludes my talk.